Right sidebar.
Yes, I did. Even brush my teeth, Buzz.
Change your clothes and everything.
I'll sit right here because this is Gross is going to tell me to let everybody know she'll stop in March. I'm going to make Is that better?
We're going to call the meeting to order, committee meeting for the Ellwood City Area School District, Monday, February 9th. I apologize for starting the meeting late. We had a committee meeting prior to this meeting. Start with, why don't we start with the visitors since we kept you waiting a little bit. You would like to state your name and the reason why you're here, and if you have an issue you want to discuss.
Sure, Adrienne Neff. I'm just here as a PTO rep.
Kathy Tolia, just here as a PTO rep.
Great, welcome, thank you.
I usually have the principals give a brief report to the board about what's been going on for the month.
Okay, last Wednesday, I should say, we had our 8th grade parent night. We started, I think we're on our 6th or 7th year. We've done that, and it's more of an orientation for the 8th grade parents as they enter 9th grade and start scheduling, which we started this week as well. Student schedules requests are due tomorrow to their advisor, and that data will be put into the computer so I can generate the tallies and start building the master schedule for next school year, which will start full force come March. So that's coming up here real soon. We had the opportunity to have District Attorney Landon Kuzo also there last Wednesday, and he gave a great message to the parents and the students that were in the audience. We're going to try to even bring him back to talk to the students specifically. Two main topics. One is what they do on their cell phones, and to put it bluntly, what they send and what can happen to them if they send the wrong types of materials. And then the second one was drugs and his drug task force in Lawrence County. He was actually leaving the meeting, going to change his clothes, and going out in the community with his task force last Wednesday night. So we had that opportunity for the parents and some of the students, and like I said, we're going to try to bring him back specifically just for the students. For those who are wondering, the Brush of Honor presentation that we had for Leslie Sabo and his family, the portrait, I received information this past week. They're going to air that in May 2015 on the Inspire Network. So once I get a concrete date, I'll pass that along to everybody, or I'll give it to Mr. Mancini. He can send that out to you guys. But initially, it was supposed to be in April. Lady informed me last week that it'll be May now, 2015. The counselors this week are going to meet with parents Thursday night for help for anybody that needs help filling out the financial aid forms, FAFSA. That'll be Thursday night in the computer labs. And like I said, they're going to meet with the senior students tomorrow and get together with all the scholarships. Ellwood City provides a great foundation. We see that every year, commencement, and the money that's presented to our seniors through the community. And always want to thank the community for doing that. That information will be distributed to the seniors tomorrow, so they'll start on those scholarship opportunities. Lastly, I'm going to leave you guys with something. I thought about doing this, and I'm not looking for you to complete anything, but the curriculum has changed from the state, from our PA standards to our PA core standards. And I think Mr. Newpower brought this up a few meetings ago about the level of math and reading that students are being taught nowadays. Starting February 23rd, not next Monday, but the following Monday, that's exactly 30 school days until the PSA testing window begins. And these questions are out of order. I didn't include them all. That's why the numbers aren't jiving as you look at them. But I just gave you a little snippet of 8th grade math, 8th grade ELA, which is the fancy way to say reading and writing, and then 7th grade math and 7th grade ELA. So you can take that with you tonight, and if you're interested, go ahead and take a crack at some of those. But you'll notice those are some practice problems that our students are going to be discussing in that 30-day run-up to the PSSA. I know myself, I'll be the first one to admit, a little different than whenever I was taught 7th and 8th grade math. Thank you.
Just a note on that. When Pennsylvania originally went to the PA core, the Common Core, they were going to phase it in over a year, a couple of years, the testing. And they changed that a couple of years ago, and now every 3 through 8 test is based on the PA core without giving the schools a chance to phase it in for a couple of grades early and then see what the results are and then work through it. So next year's gonna be an interesting year with the PA core where it just all came in at one time. We've been preparing for it, we've been, looking at curriculum and stuff like that, so, but it's definitely different.
This is the same common core that other states have got.
They call it the PA core.
Yeah.
Common Core is the one that you would see most states.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania kind of changed some wording here and there a little bit, and it became the PA Core. It lines up to about 86% of what our, the Common Core would be. So
The reason I asked that question, one of the big pushes nationally for Common Core was all schools would be using the same standards. Because in the past, they had schools that were reporting numbers that, because of their standards, didn't line up on the test. So Pennsylvania's adopted their own PA.
one of the things that most of those states that have the Common Core are taking the national test,
Yes.
the PARC or the, I forget the other name of the test, but that's one thing Pennsylvania did when they adopted the PA Core, they opted out of all national tests. So they stuck with the PSSA, so.
So I'm saying that was the main driving force between Common Core that we had to take the same test.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Every month I seem to say thanks to the PTO, and that's all about lead off here today. PTO was a tremendous help in organizing the snowball dance down in Hartman this year. It was a great time. The kids kept coming up to me and telling me how much fun they had and how they want to do it every weekend. And it was good. The smell of Axe was a little overwhelming, but otherwise it was a good time. And they're instrumental in helping to organize the Valentine's Day parties this Friday. So to the PTO people that are here, thank you so much for everything you do. And we really appreciate the volunteerism so much. Every month I do a class meeting with every grade level, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's basically an assembly where I get to spend a little one-on 150 time with the kids. And last month I talked about my China trip. I let them ask questions. They actually scripted questions, and I answered as many of their questions as I could. And I let them take something home with them. While I was there, I signed a little sheet, and they sent me several, when I say several, I mean a lot of boxes of Chinese language sort of materials, booklets, CDs, DVDs, etc. And I laid them all out, and kids got to pick. Whoever wanted one got to take one, and that was really cool. That was pretty exciting for them. There were some posters and stuff too. My class meeting this month is on being nice. I show a couple of videos, and I just give kids advice on just smiling and making eye contact and being a good listener on how to be nice. And I think we take a lot of that for granted, but being nice, it's underrated as far as I'm concerned. It's something that kids need to sort of be shifted in the right direction for. The PSSA is coming, as Mr. Leif said, and to drive home his point, 2 of the things we're preparing our teachers for right now, and I've got a couple of training today and Thursday for this. Kids are going to be working on essays where they're asked for text-based evidence in their answer, and then there's going to be another place where they got to use text-dependent analysis. They're going to read a couple of passages, and they're going to analyze them. They're going to use some of the evidence from there, but then they're going to create their own thought. Another thing to leave you with, when I think of a standardized test, I think of bubbling stuff in. When I took the SAT, I bubbled in, I don't even know how many questions are on the SAT, but I bubbled in all of them. I didn't skip any. I know you could not take the penalty, but I was willing to take the penalty. The PSA test designed in grade 4 through 8, 41 of the 84 points come from bubbling in an answer, multiple choice. 43 come from words out of a pencil. So 43 of the 84 points, more than half, come from student words on a paper. That's the ELA test. I haven't gotten to the math test yet because I'm sort of stuck on that point. But I've been emphasizing that to my teachers. So one last thing. Pretty soon I'll be airing on the TV channel a public service announcement made by some kids from both Hartman and Lincoln, orchestrated by Ms. Wish, Mr. Filatico, It is professionally done. It's an anti-suicide message. It was entered into a contest, and I got a hard time believing that there's a more professional video out there. So when you see that, I will also be putting a banner up there on how to vote. There's a way to vote on that, so please get the word out there. Vote for ours. Get us some recognition in the state for that. Thank you.
Just to segue that next year, all schools in Pennsylvania have to teach suicide prevention. There's a curriculum, state curriculum, so that's why they're starting to push this a little bit more, so it's going to become a state mandate.
I'll proceed that a little bit with, Debbie and I are on the Suicide Prevention Coalition team for Lawrence County. So that is where that video initially was presented to us and stated that we could have students do it and proceed. And so Debbie and Mr. Flonick did a fabulous job. It is absolutely great. Hi guys. As far as special education, we do have our PASA window, so that's the Pennsylvania Alternative State Assessment, and that starts on, for math and reading, February 16th. That continues through March 27th, and then science is May 4th through May 29th. Those students will have their sessions videotaped by the teacher. It is one-on-one. They are given manipulatives, and those are some of our students in the autistic support programs, multidisability programs throughout the district. So that starts. So nobody is exempt from testing. Anybody in grades 3 through 8 and 11 have to take a test regardless of skills and or abilities. We had our early intervention transition meetings. Those are for students who have IEPs who are transitioning from preschool into school age. At this point, we have 9 students enrolling, which is, for us, an incredibly low number. Typically, we have anywhere from 15 to 20 plus students. The MIU4 typically will stop testing students at the end of March. So we have another month to go to determine if anybody else will be tested. But right now, we have 9 students enrolling with IEPs that we will then evaluate to determine eligibility upon coming into school age. The last things are Mrs. Gibson, myself, Mrs. Masiosi, as well as Mrs. Hall, and 3 teachers, Mrs. Byers, Mrs. Amarumo, and Mrs. Moore, all went to Hershey for 2 separate grants. We had the transition grant, and we were required to do a presentation of a poster board session all day on Wednesday. So we did that for our transition grant. And then Mrs. Gibson and Mrs. Masiosi and 3 other teachers spent the entire Wednesday, Thursday, and half day Friday attending trainings and sessions regarding the dyslexia grants. The budget is in as of today with Mr. Zerone. There are 6 districts across the state that received that grant, and they are looking at whether or not one other district will also receive it. 3 of the districts have more than 3,000 students, and at this time, 3 of those districts have below 3,000 students. All right, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
He alluded to it, Frank alluded to it, he's not, or Kirk did, I guess. Now, what is it, Chuck, that we're gonna have to do a move into suicide prevention?
Yes.
What type of program?
At this point, the state has not delineated. They do have outlining factors. To the best of my knowledge, it is going to be guidance counselors meeting with students. It is 8 through 12, and there are specific issues that we have to discuss with students, to discuss prevention, to discuss the fact that they cannot hold that information confidential for their friends. So whenever you watch the video, that is very much what the video is about, is solely suicide prevention for us. I have not looked at all of those standards to look at every piece that we're going to have to do.
Okay, I think this went through this
sensitive.
Are we having,
Sensitive issue.
I agree, it's not something you could just walk up to a kid and say, go yourself.
Right.
You would be amazed at how many students talk about suicide K through 12. It is not a high school issue by any stretch of the imagination. So students are aware, they are exposed to it, and it really, the state is taking the initiative to say it's our responsibility to talk to these students, to look at the mental health factors that are involved and continue to take that to a next level. Because it is something that we talk with students weekly about.
Okay, in other words, we're being proactive at this point.
Absolutely.
You're available-
And sometimes reactive.
You're available to any kid exhibit signs.
Absolutely. And we have students that also bring that to us, who have other students who have made threats or gestures on social media, who have called the police, who have called the ambulance, who have told the guidance counselor. We've had parents bring that to us, and then we proceed with threat assessments in the school.
So you're talking more like an assembly type.
Probably will be more an advisory class rather than an assembly, more of a small group. We do not want to set off students, and again, that has not been worked out or talked about, but I don't see this as an assembly rather than maybe a small group discussion in advisory.
Thank you. Chris?
Okay, good evening. First and foremost, I want to thank you for allowing us to accept this grant opportunity for dyslexia. We are one of 3 small schools in the state of Pennsylvania that was given this grant. It is a magnificent opportunity. We truly, I think it's going to provide us with that missing piece of the diagnostic piece that for so many years we were doing great things, and everything that we heard over a period of 3 days of very intense, rigorous professional development. What we're doing, we were chosen because we're doing great things, but this is going to provide that diagnostic piece that's been missing. And it was quite a surprise to me to find out that approximately 1 out of 5, or possibly 20% of our students have some form of dyslexia, whether it be mild, moderate, or severe. And so I think by the training that's going to be provided over the next 3 years for our teachers and our administrators, we're going to be able to better serve those children with resources that are designed for those students. It's going to be a multi-sensory approach, and we're looking at a program out of Mississippi and also one out of Texas. But there are a lot of experts involved in this committee, in this dyslexia grant, and I think it truly is going to be a very good thing for our district. So as it rolls out, I'll keep you posted every step of the way. I also wanted to thank PTO for purchasing all new chairs for our teaching pods. We had pink kind of pleather upholstered chairs in our pods, and over the last 16 years they now look more like a colander than a chair, because they have a million pencil pokes in them, and they bought us beautiful blue durable chairs for our students to sit comfortably in those for small group instruction in the pod areas. So it was quite a large purchase, and I'm very grateful for the PTO for making that purchase for us. Our Northside did a very cold January fire drill, as all the other buildings did as well, but we also did a Northside lockdown drill for our primary students. On the Common Core, I am seeing those I can statements, which are the Common Core statements written in the language a child can understand and easily understood by a parent. They're on our website, and in every walkthrough that I do, the teachers are referring to them. They're posted in front of the classroom, and the children are even at the age 5, they're quoting those Common Core standards, the I can statements that were written for them to understand, and so they know why they're learning things and they understand what it is they're learning. I will be attending an LCUP meeting in Newcastle. I am part of the Lawrence County Early Learning Task Force, and all of the, an administrator from each of the schools throughout Lawrence County. We get together periodically and talk about early childhood. So that's coming up February 11th. We have our Valentine's parties on February 13th. We have a deputy field assembly at Northside on February 17th. We are starting our retention meetings, and the first one will be February 24th. Northside has monthly RTII meetings where we look at data and we talk about interventions, whether they're working, they're not working. We look at all of the obstacles that could be interfering with the student's learning, whether it be a discipline issue or an attendance issue or a health-related issue. But we take about an hour and a half each month to look at that data and really have an in-depth conversation about the students that are basically in that lowest 5%. We have ongoing preparation for our Title I audit. That's going very well, and I think we're well on our way to completing that test sometime in the spring. We have PTO coming in to do some Read Across America activities at Northside. So they're going to be, lots of parents are coming in to read and do crafts and really share their love of reading with our children. One of the most important events at Northside, we're gearing up for the March 10th, 11th, and 12th kindergarten registration. And we have quite many children already registered, so we're into that process. I have asked Benita Allen, she is the Parent Involvement and Education Consultant for the Department of Education. She's going to come in March and do a session at the PTO meeting. It's called There's No Place Like Home, Celebrating the Importance of Parent Involvement. She's been to our school many times, and she is a parent. She was a Title I parent. Her son struggled in reading, and she does a very nice job educating our parents on their rights and their responsibilities, and really talks to them about Title I and why we have it, and all the things that children benefit, ways that children benefit. Any questions for me? Okay, thank you very much.
Very good. Dean?
Okay, we'll get going here. Revenue and Finance, Mr. Jerome?
Yep, we have our regular monthly reports presented on Thursday, as will a 2015-16 general fund budget. I tried to point out that this is done with very little information. It's put together so that we can follow through on the state timetable. So it will be submitted. It does include $250,000 for book adoption and $350,000 for that Lincoln HVAC project that we had talked about. On the back page, electronic signatures, the Department of Ed has requested that the board authorize Mr. Mancini signing with electronic signatures on some of the grants and agreements that we enter into with them. It saves the back and forth on paper, and they've actually provided the resolution, which we'll present on Thursday. And the one other thing I'd like to mention, but possibly could if there are no questions, under personnel, there's a service agreement for drug testing. And that kind of inadvertently got put into personnel. We will be submitting on Thursday an agreement with the current company, which now is going to escape me. Apple. I got pricing from Apple, and I got pricing from one other company. Apple continues to be low. On a typical test of 15 people on a random drug test, it's going to cost approximately $1,685 versus $1,768 with the company we got pricing from. I went out seeking additional pricing just to make sure, because the price went up approximately $200 per test. So I think Apple's in line with what's out there in the market, and again, we're going to present that for board consideration on Thursday.
Thank you, Mr.
That's
Jerome.
under revenue finance.
Personnel education would be,
I just just on the last thing we talked about, do we still do random
Yeah.
drug testing?
Yeah, we've done one, but we've been waiting till we get this approved, till we got some other pricing with Apple, so once we get this approved Thursday, we'll get the next one scheduled.
All right, now, this is, the selection is done by.
They do it,
computer.
yeah, they do it. Yeah, we send them a spreadsheet of all the employees, and they send me a list.
Randomly select.
Yeah. Properties and transportation, facility requests, Linguist Stars, we've done this in the past, the elementary foreign language program is requesting permission to offer a 6-week after-school elementary Chinese program at Hartman, for Hartman students. Parents would pay an enrollment fee to register for the classes. They would meet once a week for 1 hour at a time. There will be 2 sessions on Wednesdays, beginning April 1st through May 5th, and the other beginning April 3rd through May 8th, 2015, from 2:45 to 3:45.
Because I know
I can find
I
it.
read the actual paper and it said that it would be cheaper if we did something, we didn't charge them for the room, but it didn't ever give a cost.
You mean the parent fee?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll find that.
Best of my knowledge,
It was off
is
the
it's
off.
$50 for a student to enroll. She needs a minimum number of 6 or 12 to get the program rolling. And if we waive the rental fee, it's $62.50 with the rental fee. She'll knock it down to $50 if we waive the rental fee. So,
Can school board members go to this too?
I don't think so.
Hartman
You can't
students.
register.
I'm not gonna stop you, but I don't think it's encouraged.
EC Girls Basketball Boosters request permission to operate the concession stand during the girls' home basketball games for the 15-16 school year. This is Pam McDonald, Dance Expressions Dance Studio, requests use of LHS Auditorium for small gym for rehearsal and recital. The request is Saturday, June 6th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., Sunday, June 7th, 2015, from 11:30 to 4:30 p.m.
They're about maxing, yeah, that Sunday is when our Sunday eats policy after 1 o'clock.
I will fix that. Let them know that. Yes,
Yeah, I
it is.
noticed that on the
Thank you.
communicator. Kirk, I think you marked it on there where you marked it.
I didn't do that, but I'll take credit for it. Yeah.
Maybe I did.
Somebody did mark it on.
D, Ellwood City Arts, Crafts, and Food Festival requests use of Ewing Park ground property and football stadium lot on Joffrey Street across from the practice field during the annual festival. The festival will be held this year Friday, July 3rd, Saturday, July 4th, and Sunday, July 5th, 2015. The baseball and football stadiums are also requested for the annual fireworks display on Sunday, July 5th, along with LHS parking lot for people using the shuttle. Always granted that in the past. EC Little Wolverines cheerleaders request the use of Hartman school cafeteria for cheering tryouts. The dates are Monday, April 20th through Thursday, April 23rd, from 5:30 to 8 p.m. EC Amateur Baseball Federation requests use of Lincoln High School large gym for skills assessment for minor league and little league players on Sunday, March 1st, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And EC Amateur Baseball Federation requests use of Lincoln High School large gym for baseball coach clinic on Sunday, March 22nd from 6 to 8 p.m. with an alternate date of Sunday, March 15th, 2015. Lawrence County Career and Technical Center HVAC project. We'll kind of tag team this, Mr. Jerome, Attorney DeCaro, and myself about what's going on here. But they are in need of an HVAC system, and I think I kind of sent you some information earlier. Mr. Jerome?
Okay, so what happened was we sat down with the business managers and superintendents, and I guess the big discussion was how are we going to pay this? Are we going to finance it? Are we going to kick it all in at one time? Well, it turns out that there are a couple of options. They're having a hard time going to a bank at this point in time, though, because there's no authority for the VOTEC to borrow money. They don't have taxing authority to pay the money back. So at some point, we may have to come forward with a resolution giving the board, granting the board the authority or promising that we'll be responsible for our share of the HVAC cost. But what has come to light after that meeting, we went to Mr. DeCaro and said, They want to split the cost up based on student count, or ADM. Mr. DeCara reviewed the bylaws and indicated that's not right, it's to be done by market value. So that's where we stand right now. We've made VOTEC aware that it should be by market value. We've not heard back from them. But what it means to us is a savings of $181,000 approximately if it's done the market value system versus the average daily membership. So I guess they have a meeting of the superintendents next week, and Leroy mentioned that there's a meeting of the Joint Operating Committee to discuss it, so we should be able to move along with some more information sometime in March.
You might be a dumb question, but when you say the market value aspect, how does that work?
The State Tax Equalization Board compiles all the assessed values of each municipality for the districts. So it's based on, the total of your market assessments to the, compared to the whole for the county. So for 25% of the whole county, that would be our cost share of the capital expenditure.
As opposed to how many students.
So that's like yes,
But if we were, if joint operating committee resolution based on the attendance, we can reject that even if they pass it. Our board can still reject it, which will affect, we have the power to do that.
Because I think it ranked without all 8 schools.
Let me make sure I
You're not
have that
gonna-
position right, we will never need it.
So is that like saying like Neshannock would have to pay a higher percentage than Newcastle or Ellwood?
Because if you look at attendance, it's Newcastle, Ellwood, and not, it's Mohawk, whoever's next. They do market value, and Shannock's quality first. So some of those schools that have low attendance but high assessed values in their district, it's going to flip in terms of spreading the cost. But the articles say if it's a capital expenditure, it's market based. If it's an ordinary maintenance, and I can't see it based on the HVAC, it's 50 years old as an ordinary.
Well, especially looking at the cost, total cost.
Okay. Student affairs, field trips that were enclosed. This is Lori Hudak, Mr. Rob Rao, LHS reading teachers request permission to take approximately 130 7th grade students, all who passed for the year, to PNC Park on Wednesday, May 27th, 2015. They will attend a weather presentation, educational scavenger hunt, and watch the game. ABE students, which I think are academic and behavior students, exceptional students, will be honored on the field prior to the game. Cost will be paid by student-raised funds. Students will leave at 8:45 and return by 4:30. 8th grade teachers request permission to take the 8th grade class to Kennywood Amusement Park for their annual field trip May 22nd. The students will leave at 8:45 and return approximately 6:30. The cost will be paid by student-raised funds. And Mr. Davis is taking his, the LHS government teacher requests to travel to Philadelphia again by train with 17 12th grade government students to visit the PA Supreme Court, visit area historical landmarks. The group will leave 5:30 a.m. on Tuesday, March 10th, and return 10 p.m. on Thursday, March 12th. Funding for the trip is request from Ellwood City businesses and associations.
Question on one, the last one we took to Harrisburg,
Philadelphia,
or Philadelphia, I said Harrisburg, I said Philadelphia. Is this going to run into any testing problem?
Not for seniors, they're done.
Oh, okay. Those will be all seniors. And the other two, I assume this has all testing.
Yes,
It's the same like we do it.
Yeah, they're done. I just wanted to
They also have, in the past, they have been with,
Yes,
Supreme
she's
Court
coming again.
Justice
Yeah, we're having dinner.
graduate.
The district policy's been posted for 30 days since the last meeting. Policy 201, admission of students, that's been on display since the January meeting, so we're looking for approval for that for February, so we can get that out to schools. 2015-16 school calendar recommended by the administration will be presented to committee meeting. I think you have that. Commencement exercise program change, December meeting, Mr. Lake recommended senior advisors be permitted to hand diplomas to students they have served over the last 4 years. The idea was briefly discussed at the meeting, but due to a number of absent board members, discussion was tabled. Direction is again requested so that steps can be taken to order the appropriate caps and gowns.
I have a question. How many people is that going to be putting on the stage? And what about teachers or board members who want to give their children their diplomas? How would that work?
Imagine we would still allow them to do that for their children. And we can work out the logistics. The person could step, come on to the stage when that advisor, remember, they're not going to be done in alphabetical order, I don't think, they're done by advisory. So we would call that advisory up. That teacher would come up onto the stage and hand the diploma to that person. So we would still honor that relative, the family. I don't think anybody would be.
I just know there was like 4 or 5 or 6 last year.
4, 5, or 6.
The parents and
Oh, okay,
the
okay.
teachers.
Yeah. We would still do that.
Any problems with instituting that this year? Thumbs up from Mr. Darda, thumbs up from Renee.
No.
This is a no.
I know, one way or another, I don't think it's a bad idea. Yeah, I would say recommend.
You, Roy?
I'm also a no. Kathy,
I'm a yes.
I think you have enough to do it, so.
I'm a yes, I don't have a problem if it's a majority.
It's not that I'm opposed to the process, it's just a long tradition. I have a hard time giving out traditions. I realize it doesn't make me right.
And the board president will still be on the stage shaking hands, it's just that the diploma will be handed to by the.
So, I understand.
Thank you. Student accounting software, the administration is recommending a district transition to student accounting software provided by Tyler Technologies for the 2015-16 school year. Closes is a financial analysis indicating the cost savings by moving to the new software. Authorization is being requested this time so a transition and implementation plan can be prepared and put in place. Tyler Technologies is kind of working with the IU, and a lot of the schools in the area are going to them. So that's why this consortium has kind of been built up. ProSoft, who we currently use, who we've been satisfied for a long time, we're looking to go to a cloud-based system, and we've kind of looked at all its different options, and we kind of like the Tyler Technologies and what they offer. And if you looked at the costing out analysis, we're able to get rid of some of the other programs that we currently use that are all encompassed in one program with Tyler. So it ends up in the long run saving us money down the road. So.
Is that how that works? I wondered how you saved so much as 2 years down.
Well, we've always had separate programs. Like the parent portal was Edline was a separate program. So a lot of uploading from ProSoft, and every night it would grab stuff. We have to set up programs to grab the information from our student information system. So we had to pay for Edline separate. Grade Quick or electronic grade book was a separate program. Besides ProSoft. So this is all encompassed in one.
We've talked to people who have used the system that you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, they're satisfied
They're
with it.
all
Yep.
good to go?
Yep. So, and what's nice is there's enough schools in this area going to it that they're talking about doing trainings as school-wide, like all the counselors, because they're going to have separate training for them. Health nurses, maybe all the area nurses that are schools that are going to this, they'll train. So There may be some savings down the road as far as training, because they'll be able to do a consortium of it, so. We're kind of excited, and the reason it's on now is because they've got an implementation date of March 30th that they've got to know by, so they can start to transition, pull data, start getting our data to get ready, because we need to do, we gotta be rolling by August, we can't wait till September, so. Yes,
So this will be, if we make the decision, it's not negotiable when we do the budget, right?
right, because that's why we want, it's kind of a budget issue, but we need to go now, we can't wait till we decide budget stuff in April, or, because they need to know now to make that data transition, it's gonna take a lot of time, so we're looking for that approval. Just informational, if you're coming to commencement, the cap and gown form, I believe, is on in your area, so if you would just give that back to me with a yes or no, if you plan on attending commencement, so we can order your cap and gown. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mancini. Is there any new business from any of the board members? Mr.
Yeah,
Zarella?
there's a note that came in late this afternoon, I didn't get on an update here. We have a repository sale offer of $1,000 on a property at 304 First Street in Ellwood City. Traditionally, board approves these, we accept $1,000, get the property back on the tax rolls. So I'll have that on the agenda Thursday, if that's okay.
Kathy?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. When I was going through the checks, and I apologize to Rich and Joe, we sent a lot of people to the technology conference. And I understand a lot of the conference fees are covered by the conference because we have the honor of sending teachers present. But we gotta cover the travel expenses, any incidental expenses, and most important, in some cases, the conference fees, but most important is substitutes. And I think I thought I counted 9 checks that I signed. How many do you know, Rich?
I don't know off the top of my head, but that sounds pretty.
Yeah, I think when I was signing, I counted 9 people that were getting per diem checks. That's a pretty big chunk of teachers to be out of the building, especially with the testing and everything that we have on. But we don't have a policy setting any quotas. But I'm just really concerned with having that many teachers out at one conference. Especially, I mean, I talked to the principals, Kelly did a good job of covering where they could. Then the principals had to adjust accordingly to make sure everybody was covered. The principals shouldn't be put in that position, and neither should the kids.
How many were out from one school?
One.
One from north side. I mean,
And one from Lincoln.
so then you had 7 out of Perry Market.
Well, 2, Ellen and her assistant are the other 2.
And I had a couple at each high school.
The thing with Pete and C conference is, which is the state technology conference, teachers can put in to present. They go online, they fill out an application to be a presenter. And they judge them and you get accepted to present to all the other people and they sign up for your workshops. We've always had, some teachers present, we just happen to get a lot that got accepted this year. Their registration fee is covered. They don't pay for the registration, we do pay hotel, which they doubled up in hotel rooms, and travel expenses and so on. It's like a catch-22, like I told Ms. Pansera, it's a great honor to have, some 4 or 5 teachers presenting there with Ellwood City School District underneath their name. In the same sense, it does cost the district some money. So the board, wants to put together a policy on the amount of people that can go to, a conference. I'm more than willing to start researching that and looking into it, but this one is one that, we send people every year and they bring stuff back, and we ask those people, a lot of them are early adopters, people that have taken the initiative to get technology into their classrooms and so on, and present it out to other staff members when we have those kind of trainings. So I understand, but it is, we do have a lot of teachers presenting some of the stuff that you have seen. You know, Anita Hand is out there, Matt Scotchulis presenting on things that they do in their classroom. So, it's an honor having that, but it's also, you know, a budget expense that we do budget for. Ellen does budget technology, travel, you know, so, yeah, I understand.
That as money continues to dry up, plus, my main concern is not overly the money is an issue.
Right.
Especially last year, we were discussing not getting library books for the students. But my concern is the kids and the testing. If the teachers aren't there, subs are good, but they're not teaching. I mean, everything that the kids need to know. So the kids are being harmed in the long run. How many days is the conference?
3 days, I think.
Now, what was that? We mentioned 9 days.
Not,
Everybody-
Not all
saying one
teachers,
person.
not, roughly 9 staff members.
9 staff members for 3 days.
Maybe.
I had a Perry teacher, I had a special teacher, like Matt's a
That's
special teacher.
Scotchulis, right.
You know what I mean? So, it's just, it's quick add to 9 when you got 4 buildings and a special and a coordinator, it's not hard to get to 9.
Rich, would it be possible to, I know the fees aren't in because they're at the meeting now, to just get a gross dollar amount of what it's gonna cost the district?
How about if I do this, how about if I go back and see what we spent last year?
Well, I don't think we sent as many people last year.
Well, I mean, I'll get a per person
Itemized per
cost.
person.
I can try to get a per person cost.
Okay. And that will include the cost of the subs?
Sure.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you, Rich. And the other issue I had is, and I think Joe and Rich explained it to me pretty good, but I just want everybody else to be aware of it. One of the checks that was to be signed was the dues for athletic directors. And there was a fee for the facility manager's dues to be paid. I questioned it.
Mr. I think that might be a question.
Is that
I'll ask.
personal?
Just asking Joe.
I'm not sure.
I don't know if
think
it's
that might be a
general.
personal.
Basically, if you're
Executive
covering
session
dues for somebody who's not an athletic director.
I think that would be personal.
Yeah, I think
Personnel?
that's-
Okay.
When we go into executive session.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Mrs. Panzera for bringing that to the attention of the board. The past several years, the board has elected her. She signs a lot of checks, and one of the reasons we trust that with her is she doesn't just sign them, she does pay attention and picks up on things. I thank her for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks, Sarah.
I have,
You want to start on
Mrs. Petrelli.
I had a phone call today, from, somebody who lives in our district. And she was telling me about, a new, well, it's not a new program, but I guess it's a program, that basically, forgive me, I only got to talk to her for a few minutes, but it basically sends food home with kids that are, don't always get fed on the weekends. And I guess this program is all through Lawrence County, and we're the only school district right now that's not participating in it. She just brought it to my attention. I don't have a whole lot of info on it yet. She says, the Newcastle Vice Principal Tabitha Marino, I think, is one of the ones who had called, that she had spoke to about it. And it works with the food bank, and they basically, somebody has to spearhead this thing. It shouldn't cost the district any money, but we would be kind of responsible for maybe holding on to the food and letting the people come in, the volunteers come in and bag it up. And I don't know how the logistics of it, but we are the only school district. I don't know, do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I thought Newcastle was the only school district
Yeah.
doing
They're
it.
all doing it now. We're the only one not doing it. So as of,
I did explore it, I talked to, Mrs. Chorley about it, and the way she explained it to me is we're putting it in backpacks and sending this food
That's what
home with
they-
5-year-olds,
they
you know,
call
6-year-olds,
it
7-year-olds.
can actually go K through 12, she said, depending on what we want to do. But I guess it has to be board approved. And then you need somebody, because I don't, imagine anybody here wants to take it on.
I'm not sure if every Lawrence County school.
Well, she just told me she spoke to them and that's what they told her.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Organizations take this on as a project. I know it was reported on television in the Pittsburgh area, like the Pittsburgh Pirates does it. I don't know who they do it for, what school district or who, but they have some of their players, they pack backpacks with snack foods.
To get them through the
And
weekend.
the kids take that home, and then they bring the backpack back on Mondays.
Well, I guess some of the school districts use backpacks, but others just use regular Giant Eagle bags or La Casino bags or whatever, Walmart bags. But I didn't know, I mean, she just, like I said, she just brought it to my attention. She asked who we'd speak to, and I said, well, we happen to have a board meeting tonight, I'll mention it. If there's, I mean, I guess it has to be approved by the board in order to get it going if we want to be able to use the school. So I just thought I'd mention it to you guys. I have a number for, I don't have a number for them. The other lady's name was Alice Garcia. But I just didn't know if anybody has any interest in getting something like this started in the school district. But it sounds like a couple of you already know about it, working on it, or,
Went to a meeting last year.
Okay.
Newcastle hosted it, brought the information back, was
You've
right
had a
around
crazy
the end of
year.
the school year, so.
probably got shuffled.
Yeah, I got shuffled. But again, like you said, the key word there, somebody to spearhead it.
Well, I know, the woman who called me is Marcia Cater. I don't know who all remembers her or not. Her son, was in 5th grade. He left the district this year, with my son, so I've known her, you know, we've been friends with her. She is willing to spearhead it. She's willing to get the volunteers and to help get the money. I guess there's a small financial part that would be needing to be gathered throughout the, you know, the city, talking to businesses and stuff. The ratio that she talked about was like 1/5 of the amount that is needed. Most of it's done. Like I said, I only got sketches when I got home from work today. But she is willing to spearhead it. So,
And I was interested in it, I just, it's a big project, and it's gonna take a lot of manpower.
yeah, she said that they said just start off small, maybe just in the elementary, and then see how many people you have in your district, how many kids it would actually affect. Because in some of the school districts, I guess there's only like 30, so it's a smaller scale, but in others, I guess it goes quite large. So, and she said you could start off small and, you know, K through 6, and then move on, depending on, but first, she said she just didn't know who to speak to about it, so I thought, maybe tonight we'll mention it. And
Even starting small, K to 2, that's 400, 50% are on free and reduced.
But it's not all free and reduced.
No, it isn't, but, I did speak to a woman, just pretty briefly, I sent some feelers out, everybody was like, oh, that sounds huge. And, wasn't sure if it was something that we really could tackle at this time. I would reconsider it if we had the manpower to do it.
So we at least just get some information,
Right.
it seems like we're just kind
Yeah.
of grasping at
That's-
straws
yeah.
here. If we have some facts, we can really make a
I had one
decision.
quick conversation, no
Yep.
documentation or written
Is that,
information.
are you familiar with any program?
I'm familiar with the backpack program that, I think that's what you're talking about. It's called
Yeah,
backpack
she
program.
mentioned that, but she didn't say they
But
are.
I'm no more familiar than either of these ladies. All I know is that the one that I know of went through a food bank.
This one does too.
And it did, but the one that I'm aware of did go through, they got the names of eligible students off of the free and reduced list. So they took those names and then they contacted parents individually and said, and also that it was all non-perishable items. So like, we're not sending hamburger home, or
No.
it's backpack. It's all,
These things just for
it's all
winter.
dry foods or
And
canned
that's for the
foods.
weekend. Right, to get
Just
them
enough for the
through.
weekend.
Supposed to be snack.
But it does take a lot of manpower. There's packing stuff in the bags and then getting it to a backpack. The reason the backpack is utilized, sometimes there might be stigma involved in taking food home from school.
Yes.
Right. So they put it in the backpack so little Johnny doesn't get teased on the bus as a poor kid. And he needs help, so
Right,
that's
something
why,
that's concealed,
that's why
right.
they use the backpacks.
And I was concerned about the weight of canned goods and non-perishables for my little ones. And then also manpower, those were my biggest concerns. But I have not seen anything in writing. I had a brief conversation with the woman. I was interested. I talked to a few people about it, and when she called me back, I said that we were going to decline at this time. But I would reconsider it if I had some written information and.
Yeah,
Can we get some more information
If
for
we could
next
get
month?
volunteers, yeah.
I have a couple Marcia said she
Email
has
them.
contact numbers, I'll get them to
Yep.
you, and set up a
Yep.
meeting, come in and
Yeah, we
listen to
could
what
get
they have to
parent
say.
volunteers.
Anything-
It's just they
anything
charge
on-
confidential.
I think, I would choose high school kids.
Yeah, they said they also use community service, anybody who needs to do community service, they have the basketball teams, the football teams, they all come in and they all kind of help spearhead.
If you're using volunteers, then you can be conscious of
Yeah.
privacy issues.
All right, anything else from the board?
I had one other question for Joe.
You use your time.
I'm needy. You had emailed us about, day spring. What exactly is, like, I mean, I read what you wrote, but do they want help from the kids, or they just
Well,
looking for
here's what,
space,
to
or?
kind of give you history, I went to a meeting last year, they want to start a radio, public radio, access radio station in Ellwood City, I think they already got
started,
approved.
right.
They got approved, FCC approval, but they have a deadline that they have to be broadcasting by.
Okay.
Just one broadcast. And it was moving along, I guess, Cindy, was spearheading it,
Reverend
and-
Cindy Antonelli.
yeah, she just kind of, I didn't hear much about it because they were going through the FCC process to get the license. They got the license. Tower now became an issue. So now they still have some options for a tower. When I went to the original meeting, they asked me, what do you think, and I said, well, I could see a lot of opportunities for kids, it won't be a live broadcast, so, it would be, kids could tape, tape and or podcast, things and shows or whatever, music, and interviews, they could podcast basketball games, events, and then send it, they would just get uploaded to the, the program. So, I told her, I said, yeah, we try to get our kids involved, they could, broadcast a football game, and put it up, get tape delayed later. Can't be live because you gotta have somebody on the button, which costs more money, the 7-second delay button, so they won't have anybody DJ or anything, so to say. So she wanted to meet with us again, I brought Kirk in because thinking about high school programming, possibilities, what classes, if it ever does start to fly, we do have the ECTV class where the kids broadcast and so on. So, kind of gave her our commitment to that, like, we would try to get involved as much as we could, our kids involved into radio broadcasting, the industry, maybe, as part of the class. The idea about a tower then came up, and, they have some other options, and they said, possibility for one on top of Lincoln High School where they could put the tower, which could broadcast out to, so that was the, it wouldn't need to be like a tower up, 80-foot tower on top of us. We already have 3 stories, so it would only have to be, like she said, bounce it off the board, see what they think. I said I would email you, I told them I sent out a monthly, weekly email, so I did that. And so that's kind of where it is. They have other options for tower play, put up a tower. So that's where they're at right now. So they have money to put up a tower. She said a tower, if you get a high enough on a hill, could be a telephone pole. It doesn't have to be a radio tower. So just acquiring space now and getting that going, where they thought they had one pretty secure, but that fell through, so now they're looking to.
So it's more a feeler, there's
Feeler,
anything kind of concrete?
no, nothing
going down?
concrete, but, she kind of, if you know her, she kind of,
I know a lot.
would the board be interested in, putting the tower on top of Lincoln? Which limits, like if it was on a hill, they'd be able to get a wider, but Lincoln kind of, because it's down low, it wouldn't get as far of a broadcast, but it's not a high power, like it's not like a high power station anyhow, it's a real
Don't go
low
much further.
power, station. So we had a conversation with her, did I miss anything on that pretty much?
She has to broadcast before July 1st, or else
Yeah.
they lose their.
At least one broadcast, like if they just get up one time, 1 hour show or something, they need to get that going. So they're a little bit, that's kind of what that conversation was, because I really, after that first meeting they had, I really lost touch with it, and she called and wanted to set up another meeting, so we met with her. That's all that was.
Do we need to do something as a
No,
board? No, nothing yet?
probably needs to get back to me, she's, so, I could call her again and, you know, I guess the question would be, if it comes down to the bottom line, would the board be willing to put the tower up on the school? You know, this school, I guess it's last point desperation, so.
This is an AM.
AM, yeah, it's real,
And they're not required to have that high of a tower. Now, WFM, when I worked there, our tower was over on the north side, was 480 foot. And FM, you couldn't get that high.
WXED or something,
Today.
I might have left it in my office, I think.
John.
Is it FM, right? Might be FM, but it's low. People are worried about like radiation and
Depends
stuff.
what the program content is.
Well, I mean, I think the way they set their license up, it has to be, like, it has to be approved by that board. There's like two boards. There's Dayspring, which applied for the license, and then there'll be a radio board also. So there'd be like an overseeing board and another board that they'd have a program manager, which they would hire. That's like one of the costs and expenses, who would set up the programming, which would be, so it is FM 107.3.
But Dayspring is a church.
Yes, it has a ministry, right, correct. But it wouldn't all be religious, you said it would be, you know, music, pop music, whatever. It fits within the moral guidelines of things.
Community service, it
Community
will be
service.
religious broadcast.
Yeah, there will be part of it.
If that's 107.3, that's FM.
Yes, it is FM, yeah.
Our tower's gonna have to be a hell of a lot higher.
Well, it's low power, you said, 100 watt or something. I got all the information in my office, so.
We don't need to act on it, that's the
No.
bottom line.
That was just
They'll-
informational that
they'll
we just
come
had a
up with
meeting.
Tower somewhere, I think it's a great opportunity.
Right.
Kids can
Kids,
get
sure.
some real great experience.
A lot of things open up with that, yeah.
We don't need any more holes in our roof, do we, Mr. Schuster?
What's that?
We don't need any more holes in our roof, do we?
No, we were just talking, we gotta take it up to Steeple Park and put it on the tower.
She
It's
talked
already
about
up
up there, she talked about talking to,
Christine offered to climb the tower and put
a
it as high as we
Sprint,
wanted it.
she said it's a Sprint tower, and Sprint does do voluntary community donation sometimes for towers, so they've got options right now. They just, that was one of the last things she threw in there about the tower, so.
Anything else from the board? Couple things I have. Steve, since you're here, I had a couple of questions for you. We had traded some text messages a while ago. I don't even remember when that was, but did that door over at the concession stand get
The
fixed?
hasp put on it, yes.
Okay. And it's
The next day.
been secure. Oh, my. That's wonderful. It's been secure ever since?
As far as I know.
I mean, it's amazing to me how kids just find some kind of attraction to kicking in doors.
Well, that's not what amazes me. What amazes me is they kick the door in and go in, and there's candy and stuff inside there. They touch none of it. They touch none of it. They just break the door in, go in and sit for a little bit and leave.
Yeah. All right, and then the other question, with the sewer project that was over there, I exchanged some emails with Bob Valella from the borough, because the ECABF was promised that the small baseball field, which is where they do the shot put, would be restored to the way that they found it when they started that project. That hasn't happened, so I started to inquire as to, who's responsible for that. And, I mean, did they contact the school to get an approval of whether we were satisfied with how that turned out?
No, I didn't sign it. I did mention, I talked to, and I don't remember who now, because it's been a while.
Yeah.
But I did mention that, to the engineer guy that was
Goss.
running the show.
Goss.
Yeah, and I did mention to him that, because he offered to leave dirt for us. And I said, well, that's not gonna help us any, that's because we don't have near the equipment to rejuvenate what they destroyed. And he said, well, I don't know. He said, but when we walk away, we're walking away. And I said, is that all right? And he said, yep. And I said, well, then I'll take it up with the borough then, when the time comes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he left a pile of dirt there or not,
Okay. I mean,
Well, I mean, it would have to be transported from the if it was left there, it's over there where that big pile of gravel's sitting there right now. I don't know if anybody noticed the big pile of gravel from, they're redoing water lines and
Far
stuff.
side,
What's
the
that?
parking lot area.
Yeah, right in the middle of the parking lot. It's probably a third gravel right now from, what is it, Mortison or something like that, the name of the company? But there's a lot of gravel there now, and that's where the dirt was, so,
Okay,
you know.
all right.
Track season starts first week of April.
First March, practice.
It's already started there, all the
Yeah.
time.
And thank you, Steve. The last thing that I had was we got this from the Beaver County Sports Hall of Fame, asking if the district would like to place an ad in their program for their Hall of Fame inductees, of which Tony Court, graduate of Lincoln High School, is being inducted into the Beaver County Sports Hall of Fame. If we would like to contribute for an ad, a full page ad is $100, half page $75, quarter page $60, and an eighth of a page is $40. So, any board members, we have an interest in donating to place an ad.
Have we done anything like that in the past?
Yeah, I would support that.
Yeah, I mean, if we get a,
One of the quarterly links.
yeah, quarter page would be $6 a piece to place a quarter page ad, congratulating Lincoln High School alum on getting inducted. I'm in, anybody
Yeah.
object to that?
$6, I guess. You want it now, or?
Either now or Thursday. We have till March something, March 31st.
So that's actually on the board,
not
not
from
from
the
the
school.
school, it's not the school. The board does pay for it.
Oh, by March 31st.
Yes, we have time. Either today or Thursday.
All right, let's,
I still wait for your book, because nobody's here. Take the money.
Well, let's go back to the visitors. Any comments from the visitors?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to, again, echo the remarks that some of our administrators made in thanking the PTO for everything that you do. It's really a great asset to the district to have a PTO that's as active and involved to be able to do the wonderful things that you do. So we, as the board, thank you for all of your contributions, both in financial terms and in terms of your donated time. So thank you very much. With nothing else, we're going to adjourn to go into executive session for personnel.
Can I make a comment to the rest of the PTO? Many moons ago, 4 years ago, and I care to think of, it was known as the PTA. Now, among us high school students, we've always referred to that as the Poor Teachers Association. But their activities were nothing like what you guys do. PTA's big thing back then was finding out which student was misbehaving in school so she could come home, everybody could come home and teach it. But the things that PTO does for the students of the schools in the district is well worthy of note. And thank you personally.
Thank you.
Okay?
All right, thank you very much. We'll adjourn to go into executive session.
We dismiss Carl and Steve. Does anybody have any personnel items? For Steve and Carl? You haven't reached that level yet.
Well, they're fighting me constantly. No, they're fighting with me constantly. Carol, because of what we did to her in the cafeteria, she's mad. Carol Gardner, she's mad, she's accusing me of harassing her.
Shut the camera off.
Yeah, lovely.
Shut the
I
camera
think
off.
that's about it. They're mad because I'm using a substitute, giving her overtime instead of giving it